welcome to another wilderness tamed gardening video. I was just banging on a cajon. Lawns. In the last one we talked about design ideas and how to make the garden somewhere to relax in, which is what it should be. It should be another room in the house. I'm sure that every time you walk into the living room you don't think, oh, I've got to decorate that at the weekend, or I've got to reupholster all the furniture at the weekend. There's a lot of people, when they walk into the garden, that's all they see is a list of jobs. It's not how it should be, really. Let's say you've completely ignored all my advice in the previous talk about going for wildlife-based and easy maintenance garden, and you want to go for a formal lawn. It's entirely up to you. If you're into stripes, fine. The thing I always try and get across to people is think about the person who's going to have to cut it every week during the summer. How easy is it going to be to navigate that lawn with a lawnmower if a lawnmower is the way you're going to go? And the easiest way to sort of plan it out is fill a hose pipe with hot water, fold it over twice in a sort of Z and tie it off at the ends. With hot water in it, it'll be nice and flexible, it won't kink or twist, and you can lay it out around the perimeter of the garden and plan the outline of your lawn. And you know, you can view it from various windows in the house, look down on it and think, oh yeah, nice shape, blah blah blah. Now, if you're happy with the shape, once you've jiggled around it with it a bit, if you've already purchased the lawnmower, get that, but walk it around the hose pipe. How easy is it? If you've gone for sort of scalloped edges, which, you know, aesthetically can look quite pleasing, but from a mowing point of view, can be an absolute pain in the backside if they're tight little scallops. If you can't navigate your mower around that in a single push, you've given yourself years and years of headache. At the corners, is it a nice gentle curve? Or have you gone for right angles? Square. Right angles are doable. Wide sweeping curves are a little bit more manageable. You should be going around the perimeter 2 to 3 times to give yourself a nice wide border as a turning circle at the end of each row once you get to the stage where you're going up and down. Okay? At the end of that straight run, you want to be able to turn the mower around without treading on your flower borders and beds and things. So the contours of the lawn, the outside perimeter of the lawn should be easy to get a mower around. Now, are you going to have a feature in the lawn, in the middle of the lawn, be it a sundial, a bird bath, a pond, a small patio, a flower bed, like an island bed, or a tree? Tree particularly, and other smaller features can be very, very difficult to mow around, because most people will dig a smallish hole, plant a tree in, and then they've got either a wide spreading canopy or a weeping tree with a very small planting hole around it, and you've got to try and navigate a lawnmower around that, and it can be a pain in the neck, especially as the tree grows and matures. The crown widens, the lower branches spread out, and then you duck down and trying not to get twigs and branches in your eyes, pushing this lawnmower back and forwards, trying to get to the grass that's right underneath the tree. Okay, here's a simple trick. Dig the bed to match the crown of the tree. So as the branches spread out, just keep taking away the turf so that you're going around that in a nice gentle curve, and you're not risking swiping yourself in the face with any of the branches. Always think about how to make life easy for yourself. A central tree in a bed, it's a bit of a cliche, but it works. It can be nice if you pick the right one. It's going to be a nightmare pushing the lawnmower back and forwards around this tiny little hole that you've made for the root ball. Plant underneath it, put spring bulbs in, summer bulbs, and ground cover stuff so that it looks attractive. Don't just have bare soil under the tree. That's just rubbish. That shows distinct lack of imagination. Put something underneath that's going to tolerate dry shade. Okay, so you've got your perimeter sorted out. So the mowing, as I mentioned before, you go around the perimeter. So you get a mower's width, 2 mowers widths, 3 mowers widths, whatever, it depends on the size of mower you've got, to give you a decent turning circle at the end of each of your straight lines. So a few laps, and then start going in a straight line, and try and avoid this push-pull nonsense that you see people doing, and they're going off in all directions. And that's usually a kind of fly mower, hover mower type of thing, but I've seen people do it with wheeled mowers as well. And again, it's usually because they've allowed the grass to get like crazy long, and they've set the mower down to the lowest. So of course it's an absolute nightmare to try and get a lawnmower through that. Be a bit more regular with your mowing, and don't scalp the lawn. Raise the height of cut. I know some people will recommend that as the summer progresses you drop the height of cut. Yeah, you can do that, but still don't go, we're not talking millimetres, you should still be talking a few centimetres. Okay, you don't need the grass to be that long. It looks rubbish. You're weakening it, and you're allowing your broad-leaved weeds and mosses to thrive. With all due respect, if a formal lawn is what you want to go for, think about what you're going to use to mow it with. How big is the lawn? If it's 5 metres by 5 metres or less, it's really not worth investing in a petrol mower for something so small. These electric mowers that a lot of people get, especially on the UK market, are cheap and chatty plastic rubbish by quite, well-respected names in tool manufacture. I've mentioned before in another video, the grass boxes are sometimes no bigger than a cereal packet. So think about what you're going to buy to cope with the size of lawn you've got. I mean, again, if your lawn's less than 10 metres by 10 metres, I can do that with a scythe. It costs me 120 quid, and it doesn't then cost me anything else every time I cut the grass. Whereas an electric mower, your little meter's going to be spinning like mad. A battery mower, but you've got to charge the battery, and that's using electricity. And a petrol mower, obviously, you've got the servicing costs every year, and you've got fuel. Every time you fire it up, it's burning petrol. Is there not enough of that going on in the world? If you've got a big lawn, and especially if it's like the Pyrenees, then get a self-propelled mower. But you can get push-along mowers. I mean, again, this Fiskars Momentum reel mower, brilliant. Now, everything you've been doing in the past with previous lawns or your existing lawn has probably been wrong. Let's be fair. Most people have a grass box on the back of their mower, and they will cut the grass every week, collect all the clippings in the grass box, and dump those clippings either in the compost if they're good, or in their council garden waste collection bins, and have it taken away, never to be seen or used again. Have I ever talked to you about maintaining a wildflower meadow? Okay, if you want to establish and maintain a wildflower meadow, the main thing is you impoverish the soil. Now you might start off sowing the seeds or planting the plug plants into a fairly rich soil, and for the first few years you'll get a lot of leafy growth and not much flower. But if you're managing it properly, as time goes by, the height of growth will diminish and the amount of flower will increase, because you're taking nutrients out of the soil. How are you doing that? When you cut your wildflowers down, you might leave them lying for a day or two to allow the seed to drop in and replenish the seed bank, but you will take all that cut vegetation away. So all that growth has drawn loads and loads of nutrients out of the soil, taking all the energy out into the plant. You cut it and you take it away. so that nutrient isn't being put back into the soil. That's how you manage a wildflower meadow. You're reducing the nutrient level in the soil year on year. I mean, you're only cutting twice a year usually, but there's a lot of growth gone into those plants. Let's go back to mowing lawns with grass boxes on and think about what I've just said. If every week you go out and mow your lawn and collect the clippings and take them off site, that grass has been bringing up nutrients from the soil in order to grow, and you're taking it away. What are you doing? You're creating the ideal conditions for wildflowers, not grasses. Your grasses want nutrients. Shouldn't you be returning some of that nutrition back to the soil? Mulch cutting. You never take more than a third off, but you don't collect it up in a grass box. You allow it to drop back into the soil. Now, that's not thatch. Thatch is a completely different thing, which we'll look at again in a moment. Those little cut tips of grass will drop into the soil and rot down within days, adding nutrient back into the soil to feed the grass. And if you're not cutting it too short and you're constantly adding nutrient back in by just not collecting the grass clippings, then you're creating the perfect environment for the grass, not the perfect environment for the moss, the clover, the dandelions, the daisies, and all the other broad-leaved wildflower plants that you don't want in a lawn situation. Because in a lawn, ideally you're trying to create a very artificial monocrop where you don't want anything other than just grass. You're battling against nature, as far as I'm concerned, completely wasting your time and effort. But that, in order to create that, don't take your grass clippings off the lawn. Thatch. Thatch is the dead culm of the grass. As the grass grows and creeps around, grass tillers. If you've ever sown a lawn from fresh, so you've rotavated and raked and firmed down the ground, and then you sow the grass seed in. If you read on the instructions of the grass seed, it will tell you give it a fortnight to 3 weeks before you walk on it, but then give it a very light cut to encourage the grass to tiller. And basically that's to encourage it to send out little runners just on the surface of the soil to thicken up the sward. Okay, that's how it grows. Now as that ages, it starts to die off. And that's what creates your thatch, and moss obviously creates thatch as well. So that's what you rake out in the autumn as part of your autumn lawn maintenance regime. Okay, so scarifying with a grass rake or a mechanical push-along scarifier will scratch out all that stuff. The little tips of green grass that you're mowing every week and leaving to drop, they rot away to nothing in no time. So feed your lawn, but not with these packets of artificial, well, fertiliser, some of it's artificial. You don't need to be buying that if you're treating the lawn properly. Okay? So people who are scalping their lawns by cutting them too short and removing all that nutrient and energy by taking the grass clippings away every week through the summer, then they're having to pay for weed and feed. You know, if you did the first part right, which is the mowing, you wouldn't have to do the second bits, which is the buying the weed and feed or paying somebody else to come and spray a load of chemicals and granules on your lawn. And the thing that they do that annoys the hell out of me is they'll come in the spring, February, March, April, and with their little hoppers and go up and down spreading granules of moss killer. What's happening in January, February, March, April? Birds are building the nests. And what are they looking for? Nice soft nest lining material. What do they pick on? Moss. So if you've poisoned it, what are you doing to the birds and their chicks that are sitting in those nests lined with poisoned moss? Nice one, thanks. If you want to scarify your moss, do it in the autumn, mechanically or physically with a grass rake, and you can leave the moss piled up in a corner somewhere. Hedgehogs will use it, they'll drag it into bowls or they'll just burrow into it and sit in it. But then come the spring, the birds have got a pile of moss to pick from that hasn't been affected by any herbicides. Okay? Again, even if you want to go for formal gardens, it doesn't mean you have to switch off from caring about the wildlife. Just saying. So here's a quick run through of how to make life as easy as it's possible to make it, mowing a lawn with an electric mower. So first of all, obviously you've got to spend a bit of time getting the cable off the lawn because you don't want to run over it, otherwise you blow up. But of course you should be using a circuit breaker on the main plug point in the house. Then you get your cheap and chatty little DIY lawnmower and start off with a few laps around the perimeter of the lawn, working inwards, one mower width on each lap. Do this 3 to 4 times, depending on the width of the mower, in order to give yourself a decent border all the way around the lawn. And this will allow you, once you start doing your up and down straight line stripes, to have a decent turning circle at the end of each row. So here's on lap 2, and here's another mower thing. So obviously keeping the cable from getting tangled up in the shrubs in the border, but then at the end of every lap you've got to faff around getting the cable out of the way of the mower before you can do the next lap. So you can see how slightly inconvenient this is, and this is why I prefer the Fiskars reel mower. Anyway, then you've done your 3 laps around the garden, around the lawn, and you're free to start doing your stripes. Now the important thing with this is you work away from your plug point, your starting point. So I'm working from left to right, and the plug I'm plugged in on the left hand side of the screen as you're looking at it. So I'm working away from that. If you do it the other way around, pain in the neck. I hope you found this useful. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and stay tuned for the next one.